behalf of the Tacoma Pierce County Chamber, congratulations to Marquita for her incredible ownership and incredible accomplishments over the last 5 years.
Meeting Marquita as Intentions came off the ground, I seen her give her all to this space. She cares about the communities and becoming an amazing leader. Her team has grown tremendously, and the people that she has on her team now, I can say, really make this click. And I am so proud of you celebrating 5 years. That is huge.
I remember early on in my political career when I ran for office the first time and Marquita came out and had Intentions there making smoothies for people who were coming to help me knock on doors, knowing that there were people who could see the potential that South Tacoma has, that District 3 has, and that Tacoma has, especially around supporting small businesses, supporting the creatives and the entrepreneurs that we have here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And without further ado, it is the moment we've all been waiting for, which is the cutting of the ribbon.
Intentions began in January, February of 2020, but we had a few delays because of the pandemic. The first 2 years, I will say, it was a little hard because when we first came, we didn't really have a lot of foot traffic, but at this point now, I have a great team bringing the new ideas. Now that the community is knowing that we are here, that we have other small businesses along South Tacoma Way, it has brought the community into our space, along with the work we've done in the community by opening our doors for different community healing events. That has been kind of what's carrying us. Statistically, I think it's about 68% of small businesses fail within the first 3 years. And so to make it to that 5-year milestone for me is showing that we're doing something right. And we can only make it if we have the community support. I've lived in Tacoma for 10 years. What my favorite thing is that if you are here in Tacoma, the community shows up. And I feel like that was probably the biggest surprise. I realized how community driven Tacoma is. Tacoma Strong is a real thing.
Hi, I'm Reid Fetters with Tacoma Rising. I'm here with a really good friend of mine, special guest, Marquita Evans. Marquita, welcome. Thank you.
I finally get to sit in the nice chair.
The nice chair?
The nice couch.
There you go.
Yes.
I'm not judging. No judgment. No, but I really do appreciate you coming in today, and I can't wait to talk about Intentions Juice Bar. It's been a long time.
It has.
Let's take it back, though, and let's talk about that long time ago. Seattle, Washington. That's kind of where we got connected. Not in Seattle, but about Seattle.
Yes. That was when the thought came of opening a second location and bringing it back to where my hometown is, Seattle, and realized that we couldn't just do our sketches on some graph pad and needed an actual real architect, and got connected with you.
That's kind of crazy. I don't know that I'm a real architect, but I appreciate the confidence there.
I've seen your work. I think you're on a nice little scale in there.
Well, thank you. That I know when we started talking about that, it was a kind of I don't want to say risky, but it was a risky time then because it was coming out of COVID. Not a great time to be opening up retail, and Seattle was still struggling with what does the industry look like in general for food and bev, and how do you get people back? Run us through that whole thought process. What made you kind of think, hey, let's do this?
I think in that first part of the thought process, there were a couple things that I wanted to have when I opened up a new location. I wanted to be in a retail space with upstairs, there was luxury apartments and things of that nature, so people who can afford a juice a day. I wanted to be back in the city, and I wanted to be somewhere where we could grow. Going into it was totally different than what it was building in Tacoma. And so I don't know if you understand how much thanks I give to you in the process, because you were one of those people who were honest. And when going to a first generation building versus a second generation, which I didn't know that was a such thing. When we first went into the project, it was, we're going to build another juice bar. It was you who kind of actually was like, whoa, so this is what this is actually going to look like. And I'm not sure if you actually know that at one point, once I realized how big this project was going to be, I tried to back out. And so once I tried to back out, they're like, nope, you signed a lease. And so this is where I learned that lesson of you don't sign until you know. I mean, letter of intent's way better than actually a signature wet on a lease, because then I was now held to this lease and coming up with enough money to start the project, begin the project, only to close the project because it did not convey what needed to happen in order to sustain for the length of that lease.
I remember when we first started talking about the project, you had just signed the lease, and I was like, hey, can you send it to me? Because I kind of wanted to read through it. And I wish I had met you a week prior just so we could talk about what does that look like. Because, well, let's talk about the first generation space. What is that? That's a new building, new shell space, and it's typically missing a lot of the infrastructure that a second generation space would have, which is when someone's already built something there, been there, and has left. So you're taking over a space. And the TIs that they gave you, the tenant improvement allowance, was pretty low. And I started digging into it, and I was like, oh no, this isn't awesome. And navigating through that. And what I think happens a lot is that business owners, especially when it comes to retail, with restaurants or anything that you're going into a space, the business owners understand their business really well, but they may or may not understand real estate. And real estate is so complex, and there's so many layers involved in it that trying to figure out what you should and shouldn't do can be daunting, right? And that's why, you start with a broker, but brokers don't know everything. No. And I'm not going to say they're not the least knowledgeable on a project, but when it comes down to nuts and bolts design, they are usually the least knowledgeable. And that's why getting an architect, a general contractor involved before you ever sign a lease is so important. And getting that out to people or business owners is really tough. That's why we do co-working and all these things, so we can kind of turnkey. And that's what I was trying to talk to you about at that point. But we just got into a place where, okay, let's see what we can do to fix this. And I remember you going back and asking for more money.
Yes.
They asked us for costs and everything. And then I think they realized that, okay, yeah, this probably isn't the best move.
Because I think, in all honesty, I was their first retail client, customer, whatever. And it was a huge learning curve. And I mean, had I spoken with you about that prior to signing the lease, it wouldn't have happened, because then it was like, now you have all eyes on a project. And I mean, like you said, as a business owner, we know our business side, but that was a whole side I did not know. I mean, yes, first generation versus second generation, and coming into a shell. And I think at one point they were actually going to do some of the build out for me. And then somehow that changed. And so I don't think as entrepreneurs, we know that piece of it. And when we don't know, we're eager, we're hungry. We want to jump in and make a difference and do what it is that we do, without realizing sometimes it's a lot more to it than just doing the piece that we know. There's
so many processes and steps that you have to jump into, and it requires so many professionals to get involved. And at that time, as we were kind of moving into that post-COVID era, it began to be more of a turnkey situation where landlords started building out spaces for tenants because they didn't want to sign the lease because it was too risky, too expensive. And that's the position you want to be in as an entrepreneur. When you come in, you say, listen, I want to be here, but you're going to take care of all of this.
Yes.
And now now that's more acceptable than it was 5 years ago. That was, I wouldn't say it's foreign, but especially in a new building. And was the building leased? How much that multifamily building? Because there was you were on the first floor of a big multifamily complex in Seattle. How much vacancy was there? Do you know?
Well, they were starting to move people in when I started. And so now with all of these buildings, they have rent controlled ones. And so this information I didn't find out until probably 2 years ago, that they were having a hard time filling the luxury ones and only the rent controlled, which is I think 10 to 15% of the building. So now you have a bunch of vacant apartments, as well as I think there were only 2, by the time I left, there were only 2 of us open out of 5 retail spaces that had been there. And so it was just, I mean, there's way more concepts to look at when going into a new space and the build out. And I mean, in all honesty, since I left Seattle, I've had 3 or 4 different offers where people are wanting me to come there. But now, because I'm a little smarter and a little more wise, I'm not jumping at every opportunity without knowing everything. And I'm even scared to jump right now.
Yeah. Well,
like, not now.
It's, well, I mean, with everything going on and just across the world with everything happening, it's a challenging time. And I think especially when you're working on your second location and you've had a lot of success in the first location was so easy because it was taking over someone else's space and the simplification of just that process in general. And then you going to a brand new building that, you're thinking all of this is going to be full with people, and it was not. I don't want to say you were sold a dream, but
I might have created my own dream too, in a sense.
But it's easy to do that as a business owner, looking forward to what's coming and then not really understanding what's really happening on the back end. And that's really tough. And to go through that process, I think you do become wiser, and it does put you in a position where you understand your liabilities more so than you did previously.
It's funny that we even say that the first location was easy because that was literally COVID hit once a lease was already signed for there. And I had the opportunity to back out, but something said, go forward. I mean, and so we're dealing with construction delays and, the permitting wasn't as bad, I'll say. But that wasn't even just like a straight walk in the park. But now looking at what was endured with trying a new space, that was a piece of cake.
I remember the process. The permitting process wasn't terrible. I mean, with grease traps and things that we run into in Tacoma, I'm running into a bunch of issues now that we're resolving. But like, we were prepared. Tacoma is tough. It is really tough in some of the areas. And you have to navigate a lot. And Seattle is easier in other areas, but tough. And, so it's different, right? You're one market, you understand this market, and the jump to a new one, you have a whole nother bag of issues that you have to deal with. And on all of our ends. And I think it was a good learning experience for me. I think we got through it fairly well, but I think the issues you ran into were later in construction, trying to get that. But it was also, it was navigating with trying to get your build out done while the landlord was trying to finish their build out, which it just was a rocky road all the way through it. So, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is that I want to talk about you took a shot, you took a chance, and it didn't work out the way that you thought, right? What was the reason for closing down?
I will say the main reason became financially. We opened in our down season. Typically, Q4 is always our hard season anyways. We originally were supposed to open in the summer, which is when we kind of fatten the belly to get us through that slower season. And so opening in November, it's not juice and smoothie season. And so it became Marquita fully funding. And so I began kind of payrolls coming out of my pocket every 2 weeks. And again, that was double what I was already paying out in Tacoma. And so financially, it became too much for me to bear. And it was taking away from me being able to sleep and function because I'm stressed now trying to make sure I can keep this store going. And this store wasn't producing anything for the business. It wasn't carrying itself. And I began having to carry it. And once I realized that was a load I couldn't carry, I closed.
Did the landlord force you to stay open a certain amount of time?
Oh, gosh. So in the lease, which that lease I didn't really read all the way or have anyone look over. In there, you had to be open 7 days a week for a consecutive 8 hours a day. That's not conducive. If you look at like right now, I can look at our times and I have control over when we open. It's summertime. We're open a little bit later. I can look and see on Wednesdays, we are slow. We never have customers on Wednesdays. I can close on a Wednesday. Well, per that lease, I had to be open for 8 consecutive hours, 7 days a week. So even if we have 0 sales on a Sunday, I still had to be open per my lease.
That right there is a lack of partnership with the landlord, because the first thing that I would do if I was a landlord would say, hey, listen, let's look at that and let's talk about where you're not doing well, and let's
Yes.
shut down so you're not having those expenses, because you're more valuable there, open, running, than not
closed.
there at all.
Mhm.
And that's where having those leases with big corporations don't always help.
Yes.
And that's why having a partner like J Squared, I was mentioned earlier, is a good fit for that.
It was even to where I remember receiving an email because we were keeping our 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so someone's like, well, hey, have you thought about staying open later? Because our tenants, after they're getting off work, they want smoothies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, then we can do a split schedule, because maybe that would have worked.
Right.
We can open for a couple hours in the morning and the afternoon or something, and then a couple hours in the evening. But they were like, well, per the lease, you are to be open these days. And even if there was no staff available for a Sunday and we're closed, it's an inconvenience to the tenants. Understood. However, it's still an inconvenience us being open and we're not making any money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not sustainable. And so once I saw that the math was not mathing, it was literally like, I can't do it anymore. And I held on as long as possible. And I want to say making that decision was probably one of the best decisions, because I actually chose me and myself over the business.
Yes, which I think is really important.
Yes.
Speaking of that, how are you doing since then?
I have this weird concept in my mind where sometimes we have to take a shot to help others.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of walked with that piece in the fact of, if I went through this to prevent others from going through it, and we've gone through that, where what I went through, don't sign that lease, wait until you get the rest of this information. I can take that blow, you know? I mean, and it was an expensive blow to take.
Yeah.
I walked into Tacoma location saying, if this venture fails, I'm not a failure. And being able to separate me and my work from creating a business or operating a business, it helps, because I don't feel like it was a failure. It was a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually changed how I move in business going forward. I mean, I remember the day I had to tell my staff, hey, we're going to close the doors on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, whoa, okay. I had 3 employees and I'm like, we're done. Sorry. I mean, but that was the first night I slept too, because payroll was double what Tacoma was. And, there were so many restrictions that I was unaware of. And so I took it as a huge lesson. And I feel like it almost gives me a street cred to say, if I tell you, hey, dude, you might not want to sign that lease right now until you know this information, you kind of already know what I've gone through. And I'm telling you this from experience. And it's helped when I'm doing coaching and consulting, because I'm not just talking what I've read or what I've heard. It's something I've already lived and experienced. And so now, me having that under my belt, I feel like it helps to talk to other business owners and consult in things. So I took that really expensive lesson as a tool in my belt.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I talk about a lot is failure is okay. And I mentioned this before, that you need to befriend failure. It should be your best friend, because it's such a good learning opportunity. That's how you learn, in my opinion. And I think it's okay. And if you don't take shots, Wayne Gretzky you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, I think is the quote.
Yes.
But it's true. It's like, if you're so afraid of failure and taking a chance, you're never going to know. You're not going to have the opportunities. And I think it's okay. It's okay to fail. It sucks sometimes, for sure. But I look at your situation now and feel like, I think you're better off for it. You're okay. Things are doing well. You made it through it. Like, it didn't devastate you. You're making through it. And in fact, you're opening another location. Your second location is right through those walls right there.
My second?
Your second. Why on earth would you want to do that? Like, why would you take a space at the Rhodes Building?
Do you know I had 3 leases signed at one point in time? All together. Like, when I think back on that, I'm like, what the heck was wrong with me? But I think what it was is, it's about demographic. It's about where you are, and it's about the need as well. And I think one of my highlights is being in an environment that's focused on community and community driven. I think I remember signing the lease, and as I'm reading through, because now I actually read through every single page and everything, I remember there was something in there where you guys would offer the other tenants something to get them to come down as well. And so just reading that, it was like you're almost not in this by yourself.
Yeah, it's a partnership.
You're entering a partnership with people who want to see you win and people who want to see you grow, and you're an asset to this space. And so never have I felt like here I'm by myself, One
of the things I love about this landlord, J Squared Investments, is that they are a true partner. And I've partnered with them on a lot of stuff. I've brought other potential partnerships in. And if you think about what they're offering you a limit to your liability and a way to get through things, even though we know it's going to be tough. So that was what I was trying to sell. I wish I could have jumped this deal before the other one. Now, granted, this has taken time because we have so much. We've had so much going on, and we've got projects that we're working on now that I wish were finished. But it's just one of those when you have so many, we signed so many deals and so many leases in a short amount of time that we've been trying to catch up with all those. And now that we're getting things rolling, we're finally feeling in a position where we're close to getting things all kind of squared away. And but that to say all that is the customer appreciation which is what I think you're referring to, is that that's a monthly customer appreciation where J Squared opens it up to all their tenants, which they have 5 buildings downtown, so they can all come and get a free smoothie or lunch with you, and J Squared pays for it, and so obviously it helps you and it guarantees that you're going to get activity down here. And I think what we're building on this block and just this corner down here with everything that's moving in between Kelly's and Infinite Soup, obviously Intentions, Wooden City, which all that stuff is in construction right now. It's exciting, and it's going to be a destination down here, which is going to change all of Broadway and downtown. And so I think that's kind of what we pitched a long time ago, and it's taken a lot of time to get there, but the amount of effort that everyone's had to put in and figure this thing out and navigate it, it's been pretty incredible. But anyway, I'm going on, and I'm basically explaining to you why I was glad you're moving in here and what I thought was going to be a good part of the whole concept with you included in it.
One of the other things that I love, and it was probably a struggle that I did not think about, is still being 15 minutes away from home base. It's so much easier to navigate versus having to be an hour essentially away from the other space. It's hard to problem solve in a city away, So I think that was one of the other exciting things, because I'm able to still be 10 minutes from home. Yeah. No commute.
One of the things I talk to business owners about a lot is with their growth, it's keep it regional, keep it close, and make sure you have your brand really dialed in. And if you can grow within a certain amount of a radius of a certain amount of time you can drive to easily, Seattle is still in that radius. As you build your brand and you really get it to a point where you feel like you've made it to a point where you can grow, be careful and conscious of what that growth looks like. If you think, I want to be on the East Coast, well, you've taken the drivability within a couple hours out, and now it's a flight, and it changes your whole dynamic of your business and your teams and what that means, and it can make or break your business very quickly, and it will put just so much stress once you cross driving to a flight. Once you have to do that, it changes. And we did that. My previous company, we did that, and it made it tough. But we had to find a really good team in every city we went to, and it's part of the hardest thing is finding that team. But if you keep it local and close and grow it and make it really strong, I think the next best thing is find someone in-house to move them and start growing it right. Grow internally and take those folks with you. I think that to me was a really good way to do it.
I was who told you I'm trying to move?
I'm just saying.
I was like, wait a second.
I don't know. I'm just letting you know that I've got an idea. I feel
I'm here for it.
Rest, not quit. You mentioned that at your ribbon cutting. What does that mean?
I will say for me, and I actually just had a conversation with another entrepreneur today about how we need to learn how to rest. And so when things have gotten hard for me in business, like in that moment, I think I said, that was the first time I actually slept. I needed to find those moments where I'm able to rest and reevaluate and see where things are, what needs to change, and adjust accordingly versus quit, because it gets hard. I mean, even my Tacoma location, we're 5 years in, we're fully staffed, things have been great. I still have to find the balance of where it's not just me handling everything. And so I set heavy boundaries because I have to rest in these moments, especially when everything is already in the flow, and not quit and give up when they're hard. And so I think when I hit the rest versus quit, it was mainly to give myself permission to back away instead of just saying, forget all of this right now, you know, and respecting myself and my boundaries so that that happens outside of me. Now I force other people to respect those boundaries because I'm doing it myself.
A healthy balance. I think that's really important, especially as a business owner. You can't just keep driving and driving. You've got to take some time.
Most of the time we can't afford a team. We don't have a team, and we're doing everything by ourselves. And when you're doing that, it leads to burnout. I mean, once I realized the power of delegation and building my team, I learned what balance was, you know. I learned that I'm actually living the life I wanted to. I'm taking my kid to school. I'm picking my kid up. I'm not missing any of those moments because I'm balancing. This is the first time that my store hours don't align with my kids' school hours because I now have a team to help me carry me through these times. Before, store hours were after I can drop her off and close before I have to pick her up. That's it.
Yeah, I know how that goes for sure.
But now it's like I can rest on my team, if that's safe to say, where I can rely on them to pick up the slack. I can ask them, hey, can you go to the store and go grab these things or whatever? And they're able to handle everything. I have a group of teenagers running my whole business and I love it.
Gen Z, let's go.
They're great.
So having free time back and that rest period, what does that do for your team?
I think what it does mainly is I get to continue to show up as a leader and not their boss. A leader encourages their team. A leader helps their team grow and things of that nature. And I feel like when I'm at rest and I'm chill and I'm not overwhelmed, not only am I able to better manage, I'm able to show up for them in the ways that they need. I'm able to encourage them. And what that does is it increases productivity, I'll say, for my team. It also allows me space to focus on the areas that need growth. It gives me the opportunity to build new things, you know, go into opening a second location, expanding my team. And it helps me reset and refocus and stick to the things that only I can do in my business. Everything else, I'm allowing my team to handle now. Well
said. So it gives you the ability to help your team grow and push them forward as well.
Yes, because I'm not on burnout. I'm able to be just on chill and calm. I mean, I'm a whole different person when I'm not feeling like all the pressure is on my shoulders.
It's incredible to have a team that you can rely on and hand things off and then they're going to get it done. And it takes time to train and get them to that spot.
Yes.
But when you get them there, there's no better feeling than thinking, oh, they've got it.
Yes.
I can go work on this.
And I mean, even with that, we're rebuilding systems. Hey, how is this working for you? Is it not? What can I do to make it better?
Yeah.
And I'm able to now navigate problem solving in a realm that wasn't there before. Like our handbook isn't being updated. We're able to now build on, what do you guys want to see? We created a whole new menu. We launched on our 5th anniversary. And that was sitting down with my team and what names do you want? How do you feel about this? I mean, I push back sometimes, but they now feel like they have more connection to intentions.
It's almost like ownership.
Literally.
Right? They own a part of it because they're invested and their voice is being heard.
And that's where the performance, I can look at our Google reviews, I can look at their performance or their sales or their tips and know that this is because you care. And I also had to cut off some dead weight. Like when there were pieces.
Marquita's firing people left and right.
No, because my team, everyone who comes kind of sticks around for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But when I had a situation where it was like dependable versus the vibe I wanted, right? And so this person would always be there, counting on you all the time, but I'm not getting the vibe. Well, that part is part of the experience of intentions. When you come in, you get your hello before you hit the middle of the floor. And so if they're not getting that, like I have people who will come 4 times a week because of that vibe. So now I need to make sure everyone shows up with that vibe, which is also kind of how I had to build my other business. Not everyone can be me. They love working with me because when I'm there, I get all the tips, but they get all the money from the tips, not me. And so I had to find people who have the same qualities that I want to show, and pulling out those qualities from everyone or even helping enhance those is probably the best part about me being rested. Now I can look and see and zone in on the pieces that we need to grow within my team.
For sure. Marquita, we know that business is tough. There's good days and bad days. Tell me about the worst day that you've had since owning your own business.
I think the absolute worst day would have been the day I told my staff we were closing. And not only did I tell them that we were closing, I also had them kind of packing things up. And so it was like closing a chapter, and it wasn't just affecting me. It was affecting other people, their livelihood and their plans. And I think that probably was the worst day I've ever had in business. It wasn't like a financial failure. It was more so feeling like you failed other people, and having to sit with that and be okay with it because you're making the best decision overall was probably my worst day in business.
Yeah, that's tough. The whole, when you carry a team like that and you're in charge and you're the one making the decision, sometimes the decision isn't yours. You didn't get to make that decision, which makes it even worse. It's better when you get to shut down your own terms, but the situation didn't allow for that. And the other thing is that you had a lot of things going against the whole concept of that, and I know they struggled, and it's one of those things. And when you take a step, when you look back on the end of it, one, it was the right decision, but two, it wasn't all you. It was, you had some really good ideas, and if it had all worked out the way that everyone had planned, it would still be open. But unfortunately, life doesn't work that way, and that's tough because you've got to be able to figure out, well, yeah, it's the right thing to do to justify it.
Yeah, and having to stand on that and accept that you did what was right, even though it was less than favorable. I think it almost hits not a morale feel, but a human feel, you know, and sometimes people don't realize we're humans at the end of the day.
For sure.
Because we don't want to make these decisions, but I'm really big on standing on business and separating business from personal. And so that was literally the hardest.
Well, let's jump into the best day. What was the best day in business?
The best day in business, it kind of toggles. The first thing that came to mind was watching my daughter walk inside of the juice bar. She learned how to walk. That was probably one of the best days. But when I think about the day that brought the most joy, it balanced between 2 anniversaries. The first anniversary was like the 4-year anniversary, and it happened to be a sunny day. And what people don't really know is I kind of played around this year. I always do our anniversary in October, the day we opened our doors or got our certificate of occupancy. But I'm also a November baby, so I hate that I don't have a summer birthday. And I hate that as a juice and smoothie bar, we don't get the summer day for our anniversary. Well, this year I made a decision that we were in the process of opening at this time. And so being able to, and it was a rainy day, that's even funnier, being able to bring in a free smoothie day and celebrate with the community during those 2 celebrations of year 4 and 5, the impact that it was for me seeing people show up and believe in everything that has been done, I think brought the happiest moments because I lived in joy those days. Those are the days where it wasn't about the financials. It was about seeing people in the space enjoying community. And I feel like it couldn't have been one or the other. It was the combination of both because they do run together in my mind. But it was the celebration of reaching a milestone that wasn't a guarantee. And knowing that it wasn't for just me, it was for community.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And this is, I know the Seattle opening, it was tough. And, but I was at your grand opening and I remember taking video, and I put a video together and I put it on social media, which again, this was a couple years ago. And it was probably still today is one of the highest liked videos. And so we picked up a ton of followers on Tacoma Rising and stuff. And it was just, you had so many people come and support your opening that were Tacoma folks mostly, I imagine. And so the community came and supported you. And I do believe that if you had that runway up there, you would have had the same response in Seattle if that all had played out that way. And so I thought that was, watching that, kind of just seeing that since I've known you, I thought that was one of the coolest things, because there was a ton of people there
who were fighting for parking, a few people with parking stickers on.
Yeah.
And that's funny because that was my 40th birthday.
That's right. I remember that.
It was my 40th birthday, and we cut the ribbon at 11/11, which is my birthday.
I remember that too. Yeah.
And it was like, in that moment, it felt like a, like there was so much to get to that point.
It was, yeah,
a
it
lot.
sure was.
I mean, and then to think like, that what's weird is that moment didn't feel like as much of a celebration to me.
Yeah.
It more so was like, I can breathe, you know, because I felt like I had been so stuck for so long, and finally getting that was like closing a piece of a chapter that was only opening another chapter to another book, you know? And I remember enjoying the moment. I think I was trying to protect myself by staying behind the counter that day, because it was still a lot.
I opened a lot of co-working locations across the country that I designed, built, and opened. And I can say we'd always have a big opening party. It was so stressful because I was always worried about, you know, will people like it? Is everything going to work? All these things and these stresses. And the best moments I had in those locations were later at a different event where I could take a step back and be like, wow, this has really turned out, and this was really cool. I'm glad we did this. And that's the thing with that. Like, it's hard. It's not just a, hey, we opened. No, it's a journey.
Yes.
And that journey can be 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, depending on how long the whole process takes. And people think that you're going to be this really excited person when you open. You know, it's like it's a ball of stress, because it's like you're just trying to make sure everything's going well, and you don't get to enjoy it. And then hopefully down the road, there's a point, a time where that comes in. So
yes, I think what we don't do a lot as entrepreneurs is we kind of hide and mask all of the things that are stressing us out. So people see us cut the ribbon and it's like, yay, not realizing it's like, bro, you don't even understand everything that just went. We almost didn't cut this ribbon today. We got our certificate of occupancy the day before. So.
And when people ask, like, when we get a deal done, if it's a lease or it's whatever, and they're like, it's a quick, that's great, that's awesome. And they don't see like you celebrating. They're like, well, we have a long road ahead, and it's not going to be easy. And I said, I'll celebrate this when everything's done.
Yes.
And whatnot. Yeah. So it's tough.
Yes.
Yeah. Intentions, that's not your only business. What else are you working on?
A-List Nanny Services, my event childcare company, has been up and running for 16 years. We are going into our largest event, or our second largest, actually. We do Google Summer Picnic, which is coming up in 2 weeks. And so I have to staff about 25 people.
Oh, wow.
And so it's pretty awesome. It's like adult field days. That's my baby. That was my first entrepreneur experience. Within the last 3-4 years, I've been doing intentional consulting, which is business coaching and facilitating. And I've worked with, I think to date, probably about 100 and something entrepreneurs in the area, which has been an amazing opportunity to help and grow the new generation of businesses, or even some of the seasoned ones.
One thing entrepreneurs run into a lot of times is that it's the mentors or colleagues or people to talk about or talk with, or just kind of work things out. Where do you go when things are tough? And obviously you don't want to bring anything to your employees that's like, bringing them down or worried them, who do you talk to?
Well, it varies. I prayed for entrepreneurial best friends. Like I needed a separate crew from my best friends. And I prayed literally for some entrepreneurial besties. And so I actually have a few. I have people who I can go to based on what's going on. I'll shoot you a message. I have one of my friends built a crazy business during COVID. And whenever I need to bounce ideas or what does this sound like? Or she'll be like, shut up and finish what you're already working on. I have people who help bring the balance when it comes to business. My older cousin helped build my websites and all my marketing materials since I started A-List, and she's helping me build MarquitaEvans.com, which will be coming soon. And so it's...
Wait, what's that? What is that?
That is going to compile.
You can't just drop that and be like, oh, by the way.
I thought I could. No, what that is basically me, everything. So you go to MarquitaEvans.com and now not only does she have this nanny service, which is the only thing you may have known at the time, but now you also know she's built this juice bar. You've also know now she does business consulting. It's going to kind of be the one-stop shop of everything that I do. I tell people all the time, it's like people who give relationship advice. They can give all the relationship advice to everyone else and have a crappy relationship at home. I want to be able to continue to help everybody else as well as myself. I mean, I still have consultants I work with to help me build and grow, but I want to be able to help others. That's what kind of the whole Marquita Evans thing is. It's inspired to serve, and it's to serve my community at the capacity that I can, you know, and just I love to see everyone win and grow.
Well, that's a perfect, just segue in my last question here. What advice would you give to a younger Marquita or a student or someone wanting to get into business or taking that first step? What advice would you give them?
I think the biggest piece of advice would be to know your market, because it's always easy to have this really big dream or this goal, but where sometimes we fail at is we don't know all the pieces to the puzzle. And so not to be afraid to ask, not to be afraid to pivot, because pivoting is 90% of entrepreneurship.
It is.
And it's knowing how to build your team. I would say do it, but cautiously. I mean, I built a business for 14 years of it working full time. So the past 5 years, they've been crazy. Like, I don't have a check coming every 2 weeks, And so to make sure you're mindful of how you are going to fund your business. Yeah. What does it look like? Are you in the right market? Are you an expert in this space? Why are people going to choose you? And so I think it's going through all of those questions and making sure that you're aware of what you're bringing to the table and why people need it. Because our ideas can be great, but if no one sees the same value, then we're not going to win or we're not going to succeed. And so doing your research before signing anything.
I love it. We came full circle there. Well, Marquita, this was incredible. Thank you for coming in and giving us some wisdom and talking through kind of your experience as being an entrepreneur. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Good.
We'll do it again one day.
Yes, I hope so. All right. Thank you.